This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hi.
Good.
We are
How are
good.
you?
How are you?
All good, all good. So, ready to enter another week?
Yes.
Yep. Super
Excited?
excited.
Excited. Okay. But before we start the phase 4 of Incredible You, I just want to know that have you written down your outcomes? Have you identified? Have you provided a deadline to it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Vanchira, tell me one of your outcome.
So one of my outcome is to get my own brand new laptop.
Okay. But you need to put it through an INCREAD process.
Yes. I took it through the entry process, and I gave a deadline like it's June 30.
June 30. Okay. Nazia, one from you.
I have written that I will complete my certification by April 30th. Like get my certification by April 30th.
For IYCT.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So 30th April, I'll speak to you.
Sure.
Okay, good. So the next phase is unleash you. So here, what we will be doing is we'll be learning about decision making, right? So everyone, every day have to take certain decisions or the other. Okay. And for some people, it's very easy, very quick. And so for some people, they are always confused whether to go with this or that. And they kind of also depend on other people to take decisions for them, right? So, but what if I tell you there's a tool which can help you in making decision almost instantly? Okay. So, but before going into that, I want to ask a couple of questions to you. Okay. So what I want you to do is think of a personal decision that you had made in past, which turned out to be bad or wrong for you. Okay. So I'll ask any one of you. Okay. I'll just quickly go through the questions. So, and then when you have realized that the consequence of that decision was bad or wrong, okay, what would you have done it differently? Okay. At that moment, what you would have done differently. Okay. And then how would your life have been today if the decision was taken in a right way? Okay. So these 3 questions I want you guys to think. And then Manjara, I want you to tell me one decision which you made in past which didn't go as you planned. Okay. Yeah. So tell me.
So I'm a commerce graduate. So I chose the career of company secretary then. So it had a lot of time for me to study, and I need to prepare exams because they'll be the toughest while at the qualification mark. It's an all Indian exam. So while preparing for this, I have chosen a college where is the topmost college in the graduations level, where they didn't even give me a correspondence. If I would have taken a college that gives me correspondence and that is easy for me to study with, easy for me to go with my exams, then I think I would have continued my profession because I would have had more time for that. But during my graduation, I was unable to concentrate on the exams. Later, I got a little gap. I just missed the I missed the lecturings, everything. There were back-to-back something of the other trouble while I'm taking coaching for this. I tried myself for doing this, but I felt like if I took decision there for that, I would have not struggled for 5 years about this.
Okay. And if I want to ask you, what would have been the alternate decision, how would your life would be different today?
Like I would say, I was struggling in the second level of my exams.
Mhm.
Was unable to get my aggregate. But if I would taken that decision there itself by taking a normal degree, by taking a seat in a normal degree college and continuing with my studies, I think I would definitely not waste my time for 5 years, and I would have completed my CS.
See, so it's so important when we are making decisions, we kind of evaluate all the parameters. Now you've learned about your baselines. So when we are making decisions, baselines also play a very important role. So making a decision based on your baseline, which is satisfying your baselines, is also important. So there is a tool in your hub which is called a decision making wheel. Okay. It if you open the hub, it looks like a wheel. Okay. And in the center there is something called a problem, and then each that circle is then divided into various sections. Okay. So what I'll do is I will discuss a scenario with you first. Okay. We'll do a practice session first. We'll discuss a scenario first. And then once we discuss the scenario, you will get a hands on how to use a decision wheel. And then we'll take a real life problem. Okay. Cool. Till now, everything clear? Okay. So now let's go to the scenario. Okay. I'll read out from the manual to you guys. Okay. You're at a family gathering. You and your spouse are standing together talking to your relatives. One of your relative cracks a joke and everyone laughs. You know that this person is a gem of heart and they always crack jokes with no intention of hurting anyone. Your spouse gets offended and leaves the group. She's expecting you to do something about it, like confronting the relative who cracked the joke. You love and respect your spouse, and at the same time, you know that your relative since your childhood, and he's very close to you. What would you do in this situation? Okay. So is the scenario very clear?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask a set of questions now. Okay. Let's do one by one. Like I'll ask one question to Manjira, then one question to Nazia. Okay. So Manjira, what do you think is a problem?
The main thing is the lady, the spouse, was unable to take the joke because she felt offensive. But
Okay.
but my relative had taken but my relative has took it in a jovial way and cracked the joke. He's not serious about that. So there's a clash of understanding.
The clash of understanding. Right. So the problem is that there was understanding issues. Okay. Okay. So Nazia, now, what do you think? What choices do you have? If you are in that scenario, what choices do you have?
Either go and speak to the relative and make them understand,
Hmm.
or speak to the spouse and kind of clarify that this is how their nature is, or get both of them together and have a talk all together so the differences could be sorted out.
Okay, good. So, Manjira, what do you think would be the consequences of each of these choices?
So I would say that if I made a choice to talk to my spouse, that take it in a normal way. I know about him from the beginning, from my childhood. So, but she feel offensive then again. She feels like I'm not supporting her. So that goes a negative impact on our relation.
Okay.
But if I made a choice to convince my relative to go and talk, he feel like, what's the relation? You have seen me from the childhood. You have seen me like this. How can you support your wife now when you're with me from my childhood? This happens. So I feel like rather than convincing, I can talk about the situation to both of them. like the consequence.
Like, okay. So, Nazia, for you, in that situation, what baselines would you consider?
Um, what baselines? I think I would also consider my partner's baselines
Mhm.
and my baselines as well, because ultimately we both are the ones staying together. So it's going to impact us the most. So as long as I'm able to address this partner's baselines, I think I'll be able to solve the matter a little more easily.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So it's important to, if you're aware of your partner's baselines also, then yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Okay. So, is there anything else you need to learn about it, Manjira?
To say I need to check with the states even to talk.
Okay.
I need to check with the states because I couldn't convince them because convincing doesn't give a solution.
Hmm.
And unless and until they understand the situation and the consequences, the next consequences. So what I need to learn is the states of their thing and then take a step accordingly.
Hmm.
If I took a step without thinking, that may give a more clash between us.
Okay. Yeah. So state is important, yes. Okay. So, do you need to ask for help? If so, who will you ask?
Is it from me or Nazu?
Nazir.
So I could probably ask help from a person who's neutral or on how they took it. I could also seek help from a person who is closer to my partner. Maybe they will be able to help them understand what I'm really feeling and what this dilemma is. So that's a possibility, but honestly, in my opinion, I feel that it will be best if I dealt with it on my own, because it's just like involving more and more parties if I if I have to go and solve it. If I solve it myself, then I know that it's done once and for all, and then I don't need to go out and seek help. So that will at least close the matter for me.
Okay. You're a helper, of course. Asking for help is not easy for a helper. I understand. But maybe there could be a possibility where somebody could neutralize the situation.
Can we take them both into coaching?
That's the best solution. Okay. So moving on. So Manjira, so what would be your decision considering all the above points? What would be your decision?
My decision would be uh, because as a challenger, I need to check it with my state even to give a decision or take a decision. So I shouldn't, because definitely when my partner's state is low, that definitely impacts on me.
Hmm.
So I need to check with myself without getting into average state. So because if I get into average state, I start controlling people. That's what. So I don't want to control the situation or the people. So accordingly, I just want to tell the scenario to them. If you think of like this, like I'll be explaining the situation once more by giving some time for them for me being as a listener, and then I'll be explaining the situation. Like take like this, for example, this happened, and think of the situation, the next consequence, how can we deal like that? And I would say just show the pros and cons of the situation and leave the decision to them, both of them.
Okay. So you're saying that you will talk to both of them.
I'll talk both. Spouse, my spouse is my ultimate thing because I need to stay anyways with him. So definitely my support mostly goes to the spouse, but it shouldn't be like that. Both of them should understand the scenario and everyone should be happy at the finally. So I would explain them the consequence and the scenarios and then leave the decision to them. In explaining, being myself in a good state and explaining them everything.
Okay, so your decision would be to go and talk to them
Yes.
and explain.
Yes.
I think I
Nazia,
would do the same. I would take it a little further, and I also would like to explain to them how this conversation has impacted me personally.
Hmm.
Like, how this is creating a conflict with my partner. I would say that how it is creating a conflict with my relative who I have known from donkey's years and have been very close to, and I know, what that he means no harm. And how I feel about someone talking in this way about that person. Likewise, I would go and also speak to the relative and let them know that whatever you said has offended my partner and it is impacting me in some way, and I would believe that both of them would be concerned with the way that I get impacted, and then, like Manjira said, leave the decision to them so
Okay.
that they take the best decision.
Right. So now, how do you feel? Is it easy to use tool?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you think it's effective?
Yeah.
So let's practice on a real life scenario now.
See, the decision making tool is how effective is. I and Nazia were in the same boat while explaining the situation and giving the kind of decision making.
Yeah. So now, okay, this is our scenario. Let's pick in real life scenario. Okay. Let's pick a problem where you're finding difficult to take a decision. Okay. Okay, Nazia, I want you to tell me a situation where you think it's a problem and you're having difficulty in taking decision.
Okay. I'll have to think about a problem instantly. Manjira, do you have a problem that you already want a decision for? We can help you.
It's not a simple problem, like not be a complicated one. So
Uh,
you'll get hands on how to use the tool.
okay, let's take a decision on which car I need to buy.
Okay. So the problem is, what's the problem?
Problem is that I don't have a car right now to commute and I need to buy a car, but I don't know which one.
Okay. So what choices do you have?
The choices that I have is I can either go and purchase a new car or I can purchase a used car.
Okay. Or you cannot have a car.
Or I cannot have a car and depend on Uber, which is pathetic over here because I need to spend at least 45 minutes to get an Uber in my part of the
Okay, let's stick to the two choices, either buy a new car or buy a used one. Okay. So what do you think the consequences of each of the options?
So if I buy a new car, I'm obviously going to feel very good about it. I've always wanted to walk into a showroom and buy a car, but it's definitely going to be much heavier on the pocket compared to a used car. And if I buy a used car, I will get what I need at the moment, which is the ease of commuting to places. I have the freedom, which is also one of my baselines. I have the freedom to go out whenever I want without depending on an Uber or a car from my parents. So that will give me a lot of freedom and it will not be very heavy on my pocket.
Okay. So while making your decision, what baselines would you consider?
I'll definitely consider freedom. It's going to give me a lot of freedom. It's going to give me care because in some way I'll be able to take care of my mental peace of not having to hunt for an Uber for 45 minutes whenever I have to go out. And it definitely means that I have somewhere grown in life because materialistically seeing owning a car will also mean that there is some form of growth that has happened.
Hmm.
That feeling of growth will be there that I've reached that stage where I've been able to buy a car.
Okay. No, nice. So how would you feel about the situation? Like right now, how do you feel about the situation?
I feel very good about just about the thought of having a car makes me feel very good.
Okay. So is there anything you need to learn about this?
What I need to learn is definitely a lot of stats on the car. I want something which is going to be more value. When I say more value, it should give me better mileage, especially considering the Bangalore traffic. and also the fact that I need a hatchback. I'm sure of that because the the lanes in Bangalore are really small. Driving a bigger car is going to be a big challenge here. So to navigate through the lanes, it's important to have a hatchback. And I also have to consider that I have kids in the car who can make or break the car at times with their antics inside the car. So, which is why I have been leaning towards having a used car until such time that they are able to respectfully sit like adults in the
Okay. That's interesting.
car.
So, do you think you need to ask help from anyone? If so, then who?
I think the only help that I would need is from the bank to get a loan. So that's probably the only help that I need. I think otherwise I know that I need a car. The only choice that I wanted to make was between the new and used. I think used makes more sense for me right at the moment.
Okay, so that was my next question. So, what's your decision?
Yeah, my decision is to buy a used car. Also, given the fact that I know that my finances are not right up there for me to invest in a new car at the moment. So, a used car would take care of my current problems, give me my freedom, give me my little growth spurt, and make it a joyride for my kids.
Hmm.
I think that will take care of most of my problems.
Right. So, see, it wasn't that difficult.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So, very quickly, if I want to ask you, Nazia, that what do you think you learned from this decision making process?
That it's easy to make the decision. And in fact, by the time you could have finished all the questions, I already knew what needs to be done.
So it helps you, it guides you, to make the correct choice. And then later on, when you're making your decision, you're about to make your decision, there will be no regrets. Is that like whether I'm making a right decision or not? You have sought through a logical reasoning process of decision making, right, Panchara? Okay.
That
Sorry,
was
I
one.
wasn't mute. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yes. So you feel the same that it helps.
definitely.
Good. So this was about the decision making. So next time when you're stuck in what decision you need to do or make, run through the decision wheel. It will help. Okay.
Yes.